Dance, 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 kilted balls. Did you
Yeah.
only say the last word of that?
No, I was singing.
Oh, all I heard you singing, but then all I heard was balls.
Oh no, I always think we're in harmony. That's
Oh, that's why.
we're
So it
in
was,
harmony.
yeah, it
Built
was
it.
so good. So people, I wish I could show you these pictures, but like we're just not that cool right now. Like I should have them up so I can share. But I sent Kilted some awesome pictures from like 20 years ago.
They were pretty sweet. Although that one, it must have been it's definitely from a parallel universe because I would remember that that was really cool. And
I don't remember that at all. I
it
don't
was
remember that at
clearly
all.
me. It was clearly me.
Like one of the girls was like, "Is that Jer?" And Amy's like, "Yeah, that's Jer." And I was like, "Huh." I'm like, I don't really remember that.
I remember it at all.
It's kind of bizarre. I don't know. People, maybe I can show you. Let me show you this picture of Kilted so you can
All
see
I could
Kilted.
at least vaguely remember, although I didn't remember Jesse's mustache like that, but when he started saying the other stuff, I remembered
Yeah, I
that.
remembered Jesse's mustache. Let's zoom this in a little bit. So this is a great picture of Kilted.
Hmm?
Oh yeah, you can see that pretty well on here.
It's a sweet hat. I would
Right? Like a
remember.
chainsaw. How do you forget it? Maybe it was somebody else's and you just like threw it on. But right, that is you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's I was looking at it. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's me.
I'm pretty sure that's you. So yeah, I found that picture of Kilton. Let me see if there's another good one. Oh, this is a favorite. I don't think people would believe that this is like me and you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
right, kilted balls, like there's the kilts, the original kilts that we started with. And someone was like, "Is that a skirt or a kilt?" I'm like, "Uh-huh. I don't know what the difference is." And my daughter goes, "Culture." And I was like, "Oh, is that the difference?" And she's like, "Yeah." So there you go.
How's that? Do you remember what tournament that was at? Do you have any of that information? Your green sweater was awesome.
That green sweater was so much fun. That is either Ohio or Gender Bender. Oh, wait, that's Scotty in the background, isn't that
Oh yeah?
right? Isn't that him? Hard to see, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure that's him. And let's look on the other side. That's Jason, I think, right?
Yeah, so it would have been I thought it
That
was,
means we were playing with slip disc.
as I say, it looked like a slip disc photo.
So wow, I didn't know we were playing with slip disc then. That's awesome. And like my wife was like, "There's a lot of pictures of you like without your shirt on." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"I guess so."
That
And
or
look at Jamie. Like I don't remember Jamie ever being that thin.
I do. I do, baby.
Was he ever that thin? Look at
Mhm.
that guy.
Yeah, there's proof.
Like I was trying to decide. I'm like, maybe that's somebody else, and we just don't know.
Uh-huh. But look
Right?
at him. It looks like Jamie.
It kind of looks like. Okay, let's zoom in. Like, does that?
Yeah.
Is that? Can someone tell us? Is that Jamie?
It's not George or
I don't think it's George. Like I was trying to figure out where these are. And
Wait.
I don't like, do I have a hat on here? I think I have a hat on, right? I think it's my blue hat.
Yeah, because we bought those hats at the same time.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I
That's
look
all.
like a
That had to
freaking
have been
pirate.
because Jamie didn't play in a lot of tournaments. At first, I would have said that would have been a Mad Dog, but I don't think he ever played in a Mad Dog.
No, I don't think so. So Kilted used to have a bush baby that lived with us, and we used to talk about the bush baby all the time.
Hmm?
And this, I think, is in the basement of one of our townhouses.
Yeah.
There's Riff Raff. And one of my girls was like, I thought he had a monkey. I'm like, he had a monkey when he was little. Yeah, but I thought Riff Raff was a monkey. And she's like, originally I thought it was a lemur, but then you guys said it was a monkey. And we're like, no, it's a bush baby. And she's like, what's a bush baby? We're like, it's like a lemur. It's definitely not like a monkey.
It's not quite a.
It's not quite a lemur, but it's that kind of a thing. So yeah, so good times, people. If you, I think it's important every once in a while to find pictures, right? So Amy was going through pictures and like there's like I don't know, a stack this tall of pictures she's never gone through.
Really?
She's like, this is a mess. And she started going through them. And like, these were ones she just pulled out and was like laughing about.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm like, that
So
is so much fun.
you're missing out on those amazing pictures. There was one that my brother had just sent me recently too.
Really?
Really fun.
Oh my gosh. Like, I forget how long we've all spent with each other. It's been a long time.
Well, I was thinking that today with everything. I'm like, it's really, I mean, I don't know the exact day that we met, although
Yeah.
it would have been early on because Amy was a sweet mate, right?
Yes.
Um, what was her name? Sarah.
Yeah. I
From
think.
so that's how we had met, and it's been 30 years because we would have been freshmen.
Oh, I can't see it. It's not focused in. You're not very good with this.
No, no, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Man, I was like, I feel like I thought mine was a little out of focus and I felt bad, but yours is like atrocious. Like
Really bad.
your phone can't do. Oh, there it is. Almost. That is not too bad. You know why? I think it's trying to fog out the background, and I don't have a foggy background on.
Uh, Oh, that's it.
You kind
That,
of look like a Hercules kind of guy without the muscles.
yeah. I've never been big on muscles.
Stupid muscles. They just weigh you down. They just weigh you down. Yeah, like it's been a long time. Like if you think about the fact that this would have been our 30th reunion, isn't that coming up?
It is because they moved it. It was supposed to be a couple weeks ago. They moved it to the same weekend as my race, so I will not be
What
going.
what day is it? Do you know?
The end of September.
The end of
Last, last
September.
weekend of September, because my
Okay.
race is 30th, I
I don't know
think.
what I have going on then, but I imagine I'll have something going on, right?
Yeah, September 30th. Yeah.
Huh.
I was a little sad about that because it was all planned. It was going to be a tough weekend. I
It,
mean,
it was going to be hard, right?
a 3-day turnaround instead of a 4-day turnaround like last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind going, but I also wouldn't mind not going.
Hmm.
So, I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of torn.
Yeah, I wanted, no matter what happened in life, I always thought it would be cool to go back and do those things. And you see the fun movies and
Yeah.
just watching everybody get older and whatever.
Yeah. The last time I went, it was fine. Like I sat and chatted with people a little bit, but it wasn't like mind altering, right?
Uh, I thought it was a little weird. Well, so all through the years, our class has always been a little bit strange, I think. There's
Yeah.
still, even the 20-year reunion, there was a big stink. Like there were like still like little cliques and stuff, and there was only 80 some of us. So
Yeah.
people to be fighting about that seemed a little odd. But I forget what it was. We were all sitting there and I don't remember what had happened, but for some reason Aaron had gotten up and other people sat down and he didn't come back right away. It wasn't like he got up and came right back, but when he sat down, there was no room at the table when he came back.
Sure.
So he had to go to another table and he was just like he just pouted the rest of the night, which was kind of disappointing. So it's almost
Yeah.
we were back in high school, although it was 20 years later, and someone couldn't sit at one table, just because there were so many chairs there and that you couldn't like move any other chairs over,
Right.
and someone goes and pouts.
Which, in the world's defense, I mean, Aaron kind of pouted a lot.
Yeah, no,
And he still does. That's kind of his personality.
yeah, I
So,
guess that's true.
and I
Sometimes
lived with him for what, 1 or 2 years? 2 years, didn't I?
for 2 years.
I lived with Aaron for 2 years, and it's interesting to me. Like I try to tell like my girls this stuff, like as they're going to college and everything. I'm like, listen, I go, rooming with like your friends in high school, I go, is cool. Like that's fine. It's like no, and I go, but don't think that's going to be good or that it's going to be bad. Like it's the same. I go, rooming with people you don't know is sometimes really, really good. I go, and it's rarely really, really bad. And I go, but the people who you've always known, I go, that's rarely really good and it's rarely really bad. It's just there.
Yeah.
Right. And like I don't talk to Aaron at all anymore.
Mm-mm.
Right. And I think we talked about that at the podcast once. Like once Aaron was my roommate for, like I said, 2 years. And when he left the dorms to an apartment, we literally didn't talk anymore.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just
I do
like
remember
poof.
that. So yeah, I mean, just because I went in blind, I was just like, hey, I'm going in blind. I did get
Yeah.
accepted, but I don't talk to Wilbur at all. Here and there, I used to see him, but Miles has been a lifelong friend, and he was.
Miles is, and but you and Wilbur would get along just fine if you
Oh
saw
yeah,
him.
I mean, it's he's a doctor, and so I'm sure he's busy.
Is he a doc? I always forget he's a doctor.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah. Like
doctor.
he is proof that really anybody can do it, right? You just got to work hard.
Not sure what you're saying there. Yeah, oh, he studied. But
Will.
yeah, I mean, it would be one of those things. Like if he hopped up on Facebook or I'm sure he has my number because I've had the same number forever. But if he's like, hey, I'm gonna be in town,
Yeah,
like, sweet, let's hang out. Or
for
if he's
sure.
hey, I'm gonna go because we always talked about going fly fishing when I used to fly fish. She used to fly fish down in Florida.
Yes.
Like I live right here. Like just tell me when you're in town. Like we'll go hang.
Yeah. And that would be awesome.
Hmm.
And some of those people, it's funny, we still see, and I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast or with you, but my daughter, who's a freshman in college, last year, she got a lot of honors and accolades, right? Like she's kind of a kick-ass human. And so she was like at this awards ceremony with schools from all over the area, right? It was like 30 or 40 schools in the area.
Hmm.
And like she like walks across the stage and we see these people who were Amy's suite mates in college.
Hmm.
And they're like, we had to find you because we saw Amy walk across the stage. And they're like, oh, that's Amy. That must be Amy's kid because she's not that young. So
That's
I
hilarious. No,
know.
you didn't
So
tell me that.
yeah, so we went and like found them afterwards. And I'm like, that is so cool. Like they were still awesome. I didn't really talk too much, but Amy did. And I was like, that's so cool. Anthony, right? I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember Anthony.
Yeah.
That's
He lives
cool.
in Portland.
Okay.
Right. And so they've been married all this time through school. And I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Speaking about all these old times, right? Old good times. I kind of do the shtick when I'm like talking to people about how old I am, right? Because I got a lot of gray here. And like with older people, I always do like the shtick about how young I am because I have like a 6 year old. So clearly I'm young, right? But like in general, like around young people, I'm always like, oh yeah, I'm like so old. Or like when I'm running against people, I'm like, I can't believe you got beat by an old fat man,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like that's the thing. And so like they started asking me questions. I'm like, hey, do you guys got any questions? Anything you want to know about me? Now's a good time to ask, right? Like we're chilling. This one's like, when did you graduate high school, or how old are you like for reals? And I'm like, well, kind of depends on the iteration. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, when did you go in high school? I go, the last time I graduated high school was 93 in Fowlerville.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, 93. And I'm like, yeah, 93. And a girl's like, well, wait, you're not that old. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty old. She goes, I was thinking like 80.
Kids have no idea.
I'm like, 80? And she's like, well, you said you're ancient. And I like walked away to go do something else. And I turned around. I'm like, 80? I'm like, what kind of 80-year-olds do you know?
That's their young
Like,
8-year-olds.
I'm like, I'm still beating the piss out of people all the time.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know how many 80-year-olds do that. But I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, I don't know any.
I'm like, my mom's 88 and she is like ancient.
Hmm.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Funny. That happened at the family reunion. Angel's daughter,
Yeah.
I thought for sure Angel was the oldest. And then like I was one of the youngest. Like I was, just a little bit older than Chris, who was, a junior in at college.
Yeah. Well, you're a young guy. It's the haircut. Well, in that girl's defense, I don't get carded. Like I bought some sweet baby Jesus today
Hmm.
and like went through the line. She comes over, ran it. She's like, "You're all good, sir." I'm like, "Thanks."
Hmm.
And I don't know how it is in North Carolina. And 50, they have to think you're over 50. Or sorry, Michigan, over 50. So, and I haven't been carded in a long time. And I always see him. Like one time I'm like watching this guy and he's like, "Oh, just a second, let me get that for you." And he's like on the screen, he's like, "Yep, confirmed over 50." I'm like, "Seriously?" I'm like, son of a bitch. Son of a
Uh,
bitch.
so funny.
He's like, "It's just a button I have to click." He goes, "I know you're over 21." I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm like, maybe.
And he's flirting with you.
And I know he was like hitting on me for sure. So I'm a fine specimen of a man. Fine specimen of a man.
True.
So yeah. So how's the week been for you?
My week had my weekend was awesome. This was the weekend. I can't remember if I talked about it last week, but we went to Mad Monster.
Oh yeah, you did not talk about it. You just texted and said, "I went to Mad Monster." I'm like, "What? I didn't know about that."
Super fun. It's twice a year. Of course, the fall one. Oh, I have a surprise next week, maybe a couple weeks.
Oh, you have a surprise. Ooh.
Something amazing. I have no idea where it's at. Gina has it.
Oh man. Oh man.
Say anything else about that. But anyways, this one tends to be better than the spring one, which it's closer to Halloween, so I think more people are a little excited.
Mhm.
One of the authors that I really like that I met there last year, he wasn't there in the spring, but he was back there now, so I stopped by, talked to him a bit, grabbed
Yeah.
his books, and one of the directors who, like, when I met him last year, he's like, "Hey, get my movie, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Well," he just seemed like a cool guy. I'm like, "Okay, here's $20
Yeah.
movie," and it was a well. Remember we used to watch the Trauma movies,
Tromo?
Trauma, Roma.
I don't remember those.
Anyways, they were the like I can't remember if Bloodsucking Freaks was one or not, but anyways,
I
they were
remember Blood Sucking
movie
Freaks.
studio. They make B horror movies.
Right, right.
It's come to find out that this guy used to work for them. But anyways, he makes bad. I mean, they're fun, but
Yeah.
like bad.
Yeah, but they're bad.
Yeah, and so and then I saw him in the spring, and I saw him again, and he's got a new movie coming out, and you can die in the movie because it's Karate Ghost 2. So he's like, "Do you want to die in the movie?" I was like, "Sure." And he told me, I had my kilt on, so I had to make sure when the Karate Ghost killed me, I didn't fall, and he has to change the rating of his. So, I don't know if I'll actually die in the movie or not, but I'll keep an eye out for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So he was there, like dressed up in his outfit, and the guy who was playing the Karate Ghost was there.
Oh
The
my gosh.
guy who played Jason, I think he played Jason 4 or 5 times, was there. There was like 10, 12 different celebrities. The original RoboCop was there.
Nice.
So cool stuff like
Was
that.
he
So
like 90?
he is. He is. A lot of those people are older.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so.
You remember Return of the Living Dead? There's
Mhm.
the girl with the red hair and in the graveyard, and then she rips all of her clothes off.
I don't remember that, but I'm gonna have to watch it now.
She was there. So that was fun. We were talking to her for a bit, and Gina got her shirt signed by her and
Nice. Did she rip Gina's shirt for her too?
ripped Gina's shirt for her. No.
Oh, well, that's not as cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great time. It's something that we've been doing with Gina's brother and sister-in-law. So the four of us will go have a good time and kids stay at home. So yeah, it's awesome.
That's super fun. So yeah, you didn't talk about it. I didn't know. I was like, oh man.
Mhm. How
So
about have you had lots of fun? Did you have a good weekend?
no, it was like just atrocious weekend.
I'm
Right.
not sure if there's any bright points at all.
Oh no, I mean there were lots of good points, right? Like the weekend in general, we're fine. I went through a mental health training, which was amusing to me. Like, so this is so weird. Like, so there's multiple facets to this. So our listeners know we're pretty positive people, right?
Mhm.
and we're known as pretty positive people, right? Like it's kind of our gig. it's
Yeah.
it's kind of who we are. But like last year at school, like my wife always teased me like I was like this grumpy old guy all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I like it. I like being this grumpy old guy. But like this year, I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. Like, I I don't know if my positivity is showing the way I want it to. And I was thinking that kind of after VCon. I'm
Okay.
like, you know what? I think so. My life exists in all of these little boxes, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm really compartmentalized, which helps me do things like fall out of planes, right? Like,
Exactly.
right, those don't bother me as much. So everything's like in its little compartments. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? In that compartment, I must not be the super positive guy that I normally am and that I probably used to be. So like this year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change that. I want to be my normal positive self there, which I am,
Hmm.
like for some people, but clearly for other people, I'm not.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna try to not be the poo-pooer, right?
Okay.
And so there's two funny parts about this. The first one is I'm in this mental health training, and part of my commitment to not being a poo poo is that when I'm doing these trainings, I'm not going to be the guy who's talking negative about it, right? I'm not going to say mean things. I'm not going to think mean things. I'm going to think positive things. I'm going to get good things. And that's hard when you're old and you've seen everything,
Hmm.
right? So I'm in this training, which, you know, I'm kind of like the person who agreed to do the training with everybody, right? And I'm like, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be positive about this training. I'm gonna be good and happy. And they start the training, and like I had to do 2 hours of virtual training first, right? And like the night before, we're literally on, right? You and I were on, and I'm doing it, and like somebody like emailed and was like, hey, this isn't done. I'm like, instantly I'm like negative because I'm like, why the heck are you pestering me? Which, by the way, I found out it was like a glitch in the system. And so all the people he emailed were ticked because they had done the training, but the
Oh.
training showed that they hadn't.
Oh.
So, like, I ripped on the guy pretty hard for it. But so I'm like, oh, nope, I'm not going to be negative. And it's just the pre thing. So it's
Mhm.
going to be stupid. It's going to be dumb. And I do it all. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm happy. I'm positive. I'm glad I get to have the opportunity to be trained.
Mhm.
And I go and I sit in the training and like, I easily made it like 40 minutes, an hour and a half. And I'm like trying to keep my smile on. The room is freezing. Now,
Oh,
for
that's
those of you who don't know, I love the cold. My whole family, we're cold people. It's one of the reasons why we stay in Michigan because we like the cold. It was freezing. Like everybody around me is going, like they're taking a break, going out, getting winter coats on. It's 90 degrees outside.
Mhm.
They're freezing. The girl across from me, like at one time, I'm like looking at her, I'm like, do you have 4 shirts on and a jacket? And she's like, no, it's 6. Like,
In the school?
yeah, so they had the air on, and then the fans or whatever from the air were blowing directly on where the people were doing this thing.
Yeah.
So the actual temperature, because I'm a nerd, so I have the thermometer, the actual temperature wasn't bad. The actual temperature was like 68, 67, right?
At bitter cold. Inside of a building.
It was 68, 67 degrees, but with a fan basically blowing the AC on you the entire time, like big enough to blow the papers off the table. They had to tape the papers down.
That's cool.
So like they're all like freaking freezing. People are like this.
I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
And you know, like me, I'm like, I'm being positive. I'm not cold. I'm not cold. I'm never cold. I'm always warm. People next to me are like falling over like with hypothermia. I'm like, nope. I'm in my shorts and t-shirt. I'm not
Oh my
cold. Not cold. I get like around like an hour in, and I'm like, damn it, it's fucking cold. Like I'm starting to like scoot close. I'm like, we all need to huddle together during this training. And then like I'm like, I'm not going to be negative. I'm not going to be negative. I'm not going to be negative. And it's the same shit that was in the pre stuff. It's all the same.
They didn't add anything or any of that.
They had videos now.
The pre stuff they had like you had like the same question like 4 or 5 times.
They asked us those questions easily 7 to 10 times. And they said, hey, you're going to have to take the final test to get your certification. They're like, but don't worry about it. It's the same questions we've already asked you 10 times today. I'm like, and the same ones that were on the pre stuff, they're like, yeah, so you guys will get them all right. I'm like, you think?
Wow.
I'm like, so, like an hour and a half in, I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm going to get something out. We've just all got to be on the same page. So if you've been keeping count, I'm now 3.5 hours into the training, freezing my ass off. We have lunch at 11:30. It's 11:30, 11:31. 11:32. The guy's up there just talking. They literally have a book they have to read from. They're like, if it looks like we're reading from this book, it's because we have to read from the book. Like everything's scripted.
Oh boy.
So he's like reading from the slides. Everybody around me is like, ball, like say something. It's lunchtime. Say something. Because normally I'm the a-hole, right? So they're like, say something. I'm like, no. I'm like being positive. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. He finishes the slide and he goes, okay, so you probably want to know what's next. And the girl like in front of me is like, lunch. And he's like, ha, ha, ha. He's like, no. He goes, it's not lunch. He goes, we've got like 3 more videos. And I'm like hell we do. It's lunchtime. And everybody stands up and leaves. I'm like, apparently my give a damn busted right about that. Because it's like 11:34. I'm starving. I'm frozen. I've been through now 4 hours of training, and I'm like, no, I'm getting my food. I'm done. And everybody just stands up and leaves. We come back after lunch and we sit down and they're like, okay, so I guess we'll watch the videos now. And so we watch their videos again and we're sitting there and we're going on for a little bit and they're like nowhere near done with their training. Like they're like not remotely done, right? And like the lady walks over and we're like what's going on? Like you guys aren't like anywhere close, right? It's like another hour in. And by this time I'm done. Like I've lost my positivity. I'm like, motherfuckers. I'm like, and she walks over and I'm like, I go, you're not thinking you're going to keep me here like past the end time. And she's like, no, we learned the lesson at lunch. I'm like, good lady. She's like, we know. I'm like, I'm glad you know. And part of the problem was not the training, right? I don't know if any of you have been in meetings like this. Okay. No idea if you've been in meetings like this, but let me tell you how this training was going and why it was so hard and so funny at the same time, right? So there's a person in the training, and maybe you have a person like this in your life who's done these trainings. So again, remember the training's all scripted. These are like 2 people who know nothing. They put them through like a 4 or 6 hour course and said, read from the freaking book. Right. So like they don't know any like thing about the company, the workings, like they just know what they're supposed to freaking read from the training. And they're professionals, right? So they're mental health professionals. So they've got background, but also they're just doing the training. Yeah. You all with me on this, people? Okay. So they start doing their stuff, right? And they're like, okay, so, this and mental health, this and blah, blah, blah. And, are there any questions as we get ready to start the PowerPoint? We're literally on the introduction page of the PowerPoint. like, hey, welcome to the training. You
Hmm.
guys with me? This person is like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, what's their question? And he's like, you guys said this is from Australia, right? And they're like, yes, this was made in Australia back in like 2017 or 2000, whatever, right? And he's like, okay. He goes, have you noticed that a lot of people now, when they're doing trainings or they're having conferences or like these different things, that they're putting a message out or they're making a statement recognizing the Native Americans' land that they were displaced from and honoring, the Native American tribes that were displaced in the location of the conference or the training and all of this stuff. And the lady's like, yeah. And he goes, so is there any intent by this company from Australia to like recognize like the Aborigines that they displaced from all of this?
Oh my gosh.
And these people are like, well, we don't know. That's a really great question. That's a good point. And he's like, well, I think I saw it on like one of the slides in the training that was like, hey, we recognize that. And he goes, but it doesn't seem like it's part of this. And are you guys going to do that? And they're like, yeah, maybe that's a good thing. We go two more slides, and it's about mental health, right? The training's mental health. And they're like, we're going to be going through mental health and showing you how you can help people who are having mental health crises. He's like, okay, I've got a question. And they're like, yeah. And he goes, do you think as we have the rise of capitalism and workers' rights are being kind of stripped away and the oligarchy is growing in this level, that it's starting to increase our depression and hurting our mental health in society today? They're like, we're sure that probably plays a part in it. And, maybe it does this. He goes, okay, but what about this? And they're like, right. Like, so it goes on for like 5 minutes, right?
Gosh, that's dragging it out anyways.
And then they go to the next slide and they're like, okay, so, our first objective is to do this and to do this. Is everybody good with this? Do you think the prevalence of cell phones and the amount that students are on social media is affecting not only their mental health, but actually our job and our work as a society? I shit you not, every other slide,
Oh my
this
god.
dude asked a question. Every other slide. And they were all, first off, I don't want you guys to think this, they were all freaking brilliant questions.
Hmm.
He was naturally curious, naturally wanting to know. And they were like beautiful and they were deep and they were like, yeah.
Hmm.
But they had no place in a mental health training.
Yeah, they weren't there. That's what was not what they were talking about.
Those people had no idea about the company. The only reason those people knew this was made in Australia was because the first slide said this is made in Australia.
That's hilarious.
Like, how would they know what the company's going to do? They did not even know that the handouts they gave us had been updated. So they're
Really?
like, they update the handouts all the time. So your handout pages may not match our pages. You can tell because like some of these are green and you can see our books are orange because they change it all the time and they forget to let us know. So I tried so hard to keep I was like, kindness. And like by the end, I'm like, mm. And yesterday, I'm like at work and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Hey. And this, I'm going to say new guy, but he's been there for like 2 or 3 years, right? He's like, hey, you look like you're pretty chipper today. And I'm like, pretty positive, pretty happy. And I'm like, I am. Thanks for noticing. He's like, man, he goes, what changed? Where's that been the last 2 years? And I was like, well, shit. First off, that means people noticed. But then second, he probably noticed because I'm like, that's because I'm never positive and happy around you specifically. I'm like, you're a dumbass. And so I'm not like super positive and happy around you because the whole time I'm around you, I feel dumber. And then I'm like, oh no, Gary would be very sad with my level of kindness.
Hmm.
So I just said, like COVID and stuff. COVID's like the number one go-to. I'm like, yeah, going and stuff, still recovering. He's like, for 2 years, and I'm like, it's a long time for trauma. Like it's a trauma 2 years.
Uh,
But I'm like, okay, well, at least somebody noticed that I was being more positive.
exactly.
And I'm like, which is exactly what I wanted to happen.
Your new friend.
Well, and he, great guy. So in reality, great guy, but he's young, right? And I've been there and I literally think like he'll talk to me, and this is so bad. Like he'll talk to me and my eyes will glaze over and I'll be like, I was this asshole 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was me. He reminds me of Jamie like so much.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, right. We've talked about that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like you and I could be best friends because I have one. I have you like in my life. So he is a good guy. He's a great guy, right? But I've already got one. Like I've got that card in my deck. I don't need another one. So every time he's like talking, I'm like, and similar to Jamie, sorry, Jamie, if you're listening, right? But like he'll be sitting there talking to me, just turn him off. I'm like, yeah, this conversation's done. I'm out. And if you are listening and you're like, Ball, you are not, you don't really do that. You have to remember that while Kilton and I are positive and super happy people, Kilton is the nice person and I'm the a-hole. Like there really is no getting around that fact, right? Like that's just our personalities, right? He cares about people's feelings and it's wonderful and it's beautiful. And I literally probably 75% of the time like don't understand that people have feelings. I said that in a training this year. I'm like, one of the things I'm working on is acknowledging that you guys have feelings. And like one of my people was like, you say that, but we know you like recognize feelings more than you let on. I'm like, I don't. I'm like, I really don't. I go, that's just how good I am at covering that up. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you guys are happy or mad, like I have to like make mental notes that you guys are happy or sad because I'm just like going through life and doing what I do and having a good time, right? Sorry, that was a long tirade, my friends. A long tirade. So yeah, I had training, mental health training. I'm feeling pretty stable and in a good mental health space.
You're there. I know those first tests, you were not excited. It was funny.
Oh my gosh, right? Kilton was on with me. So I have the trainings going on. There's slides and it's AI reading the slides.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, how can you tell if a person's depressed? Is it because they don't talk to anybody and they're super quiet all of the time? Or is it because they're riding a merry-go-round? I'm like, what the hell kind of question is that? I'm like, that's a stupid ass quiz.
Get it wrong.
No. Hopefully people didn't get it wrong. Like some people were like, I don't know why people think that's hard. I got like 100%. I'm like, how would you not? One person was like, I only missed one question. I'm like, I don't know how. So yeah, people, sorry to kind of ramble on. We're almost out of time. Yay training and yay goals of being positive. So
Yeah, that's the important part.
it is trying to fight the good fight, people. Fight the good fight. Work on the kindness, work on the positivity. Until you hear from us again, which I think is going to be soon because we got a special episode. This is Ballbuster signing off.
Dragon Jerry, love you all.